Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. As we continue with Part 40, Picus de Mirandola, Book 7, Some Christian Students of the Kabalah from the Doctrine and Literature of the Kabalah by Arthur Edward Waite. 3. Picus de Mirandola, magical legend has availed itself of the name of Mirandola, and on the warrant of his Kabalistic enthusiasm has accredited him with the possession of a familiar demon. His was the demon of Socrates, which a late Cardinal Archbishop has brought within the limits of natural and clerical orthodoxy. His marvellous precocity has furnished a thesis to the ingenuity of Monsieur Gabriel Delanne, for, as with the music of Mozart and as with the mathematics of Pascal, it remains a ground of speculation how this Italian Crichton acquired his enormous erudition. Monsieur Delanne would assure us that he brought it with him at his birth, that it was an inheritance from a previous life, and that Picus de Mirandola Kabalised in a college of Babylon. On the other hand, Catholic writers for whom his studies are unsavory affirm that he was swindled by an impostor who sold him 60 bogus manuscripts on the assurance that they had been composed by the order of Esdras. They contained only ridiculous Kabalistic thieveries. These manuscripts have been enumerated and described by Gabriel, and his monograph on the subject will be found, among other places, in the great bibliography of Wolff. We are not concerned with these, nor yet with the apocryphal stories of their original authorship and eventual sale. But as Mirandola, who was born on February 24, 1463, and died mentally exhausted in 1494, is the first true Christian student of the Kabalah, it is important to know what he derived from his studies in this respect. Now, unfortunately, we are met at the outset with a difficulty only too common in such inquiries. Of the Kabalistic conclusions arrived at by Picus de Mirandola, and actually bearing this name, there are two absolutely different versions extant. There is that which we find in the collected editions of his works, both late and early, reproduced in the collection of Pistorius with a voluminous commentary by Archangelus de Burgo Nuovo. And there is that which we find with another commentary, though curiously by the same writer in a little volume, published at Bologna in 1564, and again at Basel in 1600. The evidence is in favor of the first version, though I have so far failed to meet with an alleged original edition said to have been published at Rome in 1486, and therefore in the lifetime of the author. We may accept either version without prejudice to the point which it is here designed to establish, and that is the nature of the enthusiasm which prompted Picus de Mirandola. In the first place, though he speaks of magic in terms which may be held to indicate that he possessed a tolerant and open mind as to some of its claims and, like a learned man as he was, did not regard it after the vulgar manner, he cannot be considered as in any real sense an occult philosopher. The only department of occult science which he has treated at any length is astrology, and to this he devoted a long, savage and undermining criticism, which in some of its salient parts is as good reading as Agrippa's, Vanity of the Sciences, and on its special subject takes much the same point of view. We should not therefore expect that he betook himself to the esoteric speculations of Jewry because he was attracted by the transcendental powers attributed to the divine names because he intended to compose talismans or because he desired to evoke. I must not speak so confidently as to possible fascinations in the direction of gematria and themura, for his was a subtle and curious intelligence which found green spots, or rather enchanted cities of mirage in many deserts of the mind, and he might perhaps have discovered mysteries in beheaded words and acroamatica in acrostics. There is, however, no proof that he did. The bibliographical legend which represents him purchasing manuscripts, on the assurance that the prophet Esdras had a hand in their production, will disclose his probable views as to the antiquity of Kabalistic literature. He took it, we may suppose, at its word, and the legend also indicates that he was persuaded easily. It was a common weakness in men of learning and enthusiasm at the period. On the other hand, it is more than certain that he did not regard this antiquity as a presumption that the Kabalah was superior to Latin Christianity. The wisdom which he found in the Kabalah was the wisdom of Christian doctrine. When he hung up his famous theses in Rome and offered to defray the expenses of every scholar who would dispute with him, Those theses included his Kabalistic conclusions, but that which he sought to establish was a via media between Jewry and Christendom. When he turned the head of Pope Julius with the secret mysteries of the Thora, the enthusiasm which was communicated for a moment to the chair of Peter was, like Lully's, that of the evangelist. The Servus Servorum Dei found other zeal for his ministry, and the comet of the schools blazed itself out. The Kabbalistic conclusions alone remain to tell that Rome had a strange dream in the evening of the 15th century. They lie in a small compass, and as I believe it will be of interest to show what Picus de Mirandola extracted from his 60 manuscripts, I will here translate them for the reader. I ought perhaps to premise that Eliphas Levi translated some of them in his own loose fashion and published them with a suggestive commentary in La Science des Esprits, ascribing them to the collection of Pistorius, but without mentioning the name of Mirandola. He also gave what purports to be the Latin originals, but these he has polished and pointed. To do justice to his genius, they are much better than the quintessential Kabbalism of Picus, but as they are neither Picus nor the Kabalah, I shall not have recourse to them for the purposes of the following version, except by some references in the footnotes. Kabbalistic conclusions. 1. As man and the priest of inferior things sacrifices to God the souls of unreasoning animals, so Michael the higher priest sacrifices the souls of rational animals. 2. There are 9 hierarchies, and their names are cherubim, seraphim, chasmalim, aralim, tarsisim, ophanim, ishim, malachim, and Elohim. 3. Although the ineffable name is the quality of clemency, it is not to be denied that it combines also the quality of judgment. 4. The sin of Adam was the separation of the kingdom from the other branches. 5. God created the world with the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, whereby the first man sinned. 6. The great north wind is the fountain of all souls, simply as other days are of some and not all. 7. When Solomon said in his prayer, as recorded in the Book of Kings, "Hear, O heaven," we must understand by heaven the green line which encircles all things. 8. Souls descend from the third light to the fourth day, and thence issuing they enter the night of the body. 9. By the 6 days of Genesis we must understand the 6 extremities of the building proceeding from Brashith, as the cedars come forth out of Lebanon. 10. Paradise is more correctly said to be the whole building than the 10th part, and in the center thereof is placed the great Adam, who is Tifereth. 11. A river is said to flow out from Eden and to be parted into 4 heads, signifying that the third numeration proceeds from the second, and is divided into the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 10th. 12. It is true that all things depend on fate, if we understand thereby the supreme arbiter. 13. He who shall know the mystery of the gates of understanding in the Kabalah shall know also the mystery of the great Jubilee. 14. He who shall know the meridional property and dextral coordination shall know why every journey of Abraham was always to the south. 15. Unless the letter he had been added to the name of Abram, Abraham would not have begotten. 16. Before Moses, all prophesied by the stag with one horn, that is, the unicorn. 17. Wheresoever the love of male and female is mentioned in Scripture, there is exhibited mystically the conjunction of Tifereth and Kienset, or Cheneketh, Israel, or Beth and Tifereth. 18. Whosoever shall have intercourse with Tifereth in the middle night shall flourish in every generation. 19. The letters of the name of the evil demon who is the prince of this world are the same as those of the name of God, Tetragrammaton, and he who knows how to effect their transposition can extract one from the other. 20. When the light of the mirror which shines not shall be like the light of the shining mirror, the day shall become as the night, as David says. 21. Whosoever shall know the quality which is the secret of darkness shall know why the evil demons are more hurtful in the night than in the day. 22. Granting that the coordination of the chariots is manifold, nevertheless, insofar as concerns the mystery of the philauterios, 2 chariots are prepared, so that 1 chariot is formed from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and these are the 4 philauteria which Van assumes, and from the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th a 2nd chariot is made, and these are the philauteria which the he final assumes. 23. More than the quality of penitence is not to be understood or applied in the word which signifies, he said. 24. When Job said, who maketh peace in his highest places, he signified the austral water and boreal fire, and their leader, concerning which things there must be nothing said further. 25. Vibrasheth, that is, in the beginning he created, is the same as if it was said, in wisdom he created. 26. When Onkelos the Chaldean said Boadmin, that is, with or by the eternals, he understood the 32 paths of wisdom. 27. As the first man is the congregation of the waters, so the sea to which all rivers run is the divinity. 28. By the flying thing which was created on the fifth day, we must understand angels of this world which appear to men, and not those which do not appear, save in the spirit. 29. The name of God, composed of 4 letters, Mem, Tseid, P, and final Seid, must be referred to the kingdom of David. 30. No angel with 6 wings is ever transformed. 31. Circumcision was ordained for deliverance from the impure powers wandering round about. 32. Hence circumcision was performed on the 8th day because it is above the universal bride. 33. There are no letters in the entire law which do not show forth the secrets of the 10 numerations in their forms, conjunctions, and separations, in their twisting and direction, their deficiency and superfluity, in their comparative smallness and largeness, in their crowning and their enclosed or open form. 34. He who comprehends why Moses hid his face and why Ezekiel turned his countenance to the wall, the same understands the fitting attitude and posture of prayer. 35. No spiritual things descending below can operate without a garment. 36. The sin of Sodom was the separation of the final branch. 37. By the secret of the prayer before the daylight we must understand the quality of piety. 38. As fear is outwardly inferior to love, so love is inwardly inferior to fear. 39. From the preceding conclusion, it may be understood why Abraham was praised in Genesis for his fear, albeit we know by the quality of piety that all things were made from love. 40. Whensoever we are ignorant of the quality whence the influx comes down upon the petition which we put up, we must have recourse to the house of judgment. 41. Every good soul is a new soul coming from the east. 42. Therefore Joseph was buried in the bones only and not in the body, because his bones were virtues and the hosts of the supernal tree called Zadith, descending on the supernal earth. 43. Therefore also Moses knew no sepulchre, being taken up into the supernal jubilee and setting his roots above the jubilee. 44. When the soul shall comprehend all that is within its comprehension, and shall be joined with the supernal soul, it shall put off from itself its earthly garment, and shall be rooted out from its place, and united with divinity. 45. When prophecy by the Spirit ceased, the wise men of Israel prophesied by the daughter of the voice. 46. A king of the earth is not manifested on the earth until the heavenly host is humbled in heaven. 47. By the word eighth, which twice occurs in the text, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. I believe that Moses signified the creation of the intellectual and animal natures, which in the natural order preceded that of the heaven and the earth. 48. That which is said by the Kabbalist, namely, that the green line encircles the universe, may be said also appropriately at the final conclusion which we draw from Porphyry. 49. Amen is the influence of numbers. We have seen that a rival series of Kabbalistic conclusions has been referred to Picus, and so also the number of the above series is occasionally extended to 70. The collection of Pistorius contains only those which have been cited, and they are possibly intended to connect with the 50 gates of understanding, less the one gate which was not entered by Moses. To develop any system from these aphorisms would appear almost impossible, and this difficulty has occurred to earlier critics. Their source is also uncertain, like their meaning, despite the labors of their commentator, Archangelus de Burgo Nuovo, who was himself a Christian Kabbalist, but disputatious, verbose, and with predetermined theological motives. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe and comment, and if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.